Welcome to the Galactic Tribune. This is the first episode in our Versus project, where we pit different Star Wars characters against one another, and see who comes out on top. And so today's topic is going to be Qui-Gon versus Asajj Ventress. So I'm going to give it off to Hunter to talk a little bit more about that.
Yes. Starting off the first series, Count Dooku's, both the Count Dooku's apprentices, we have Qui-Gon Jinn and Ventress. The idea being both practitioners of Count Dooku, and we're going to see where their strengths and weaknesses lie. But we're going to take them both in their prime. So for Ventress, we're looking at, maybe end of the Clone Wars, when she's in with the Krait's Fang, kind of that era of her life. And then we have Qui-Gon Jinn somewhere a little bit before the prequels, but
mostly just sticking there because of more knowledge there, and arguably still probably in his prime.
Yeah. So the one thing I'll say for Qui-Gon Jinn is, we talked about experience. He has experience, like wisdom over her, being how much years older than her? He's like in his 60s.
Yeah,
she's I'm guessing 30s, late 20s, maybe. I don't know, but. Yeah. Locked in.
At least twice as old.
Right. So he's got a lot of knowledge over her, definitely knowledge of the Force and stuff, and arguably one of the strongest in understandings of the living Force. But for battle experience, his first time in a lightsaber duel with the Sith is like just right on Tatooine, and then he dies. So
I mean, we see the effectiveness of just training someone for killing. It does matter. Despite the many years of training he's had, when you're just trained solely for killing, she's a Sith assassin. So it does help in these versus things. It doesn't help outside in the real world as much, but
Yeah. And again, she's really hindered in real world experience, and his knowledge of the Force is great, but it's more of a peaceful knowledge of the Force rather than his combat utility of the Force, because his combat utility of the Force is not that strong. He doesn't really have much in the way of like how Neiman was intentionally designed to be a Force lightsaber combined fighting style, but he doesn't really use that. So in terms of fighting style as well, they both learned from Count Dooku, but he doesn't have Form 2. He's not a Makashi duelist. He's a Ataru form fighter, which is one of the most aggressive forms, but it also leaves you the most open to attacks. You're most vulnerable in Ataru. The idea of Ataru is if you can't win the first few seconds, you're not going to win. And so, unless you're an Ataru master. This is from the Jedi Path book.
Yeah.
With her, she's got 2 curved-hilt lightsabers, trained specifically in how to fight with both lightsabers.
In Makashi,
which is the dueling form. And so it's just, the odds are stacked against him. He's designed to be a peacekeeper, right? His lightsaber is a single blade. It's not a weapon designed specifically for dueling, whereas the curved hilt, it's made specifically as to have an advantage while you're in a duel. And she's a dual wielder. It's stacked against him, and I know that's controversial. There's a lot of people out there who really are obsessed with Qui-Gon Jinn, really obsessed with everything about him. They're like, oh, well, the argument being he's extremely strong in the Force. And it's like, well, that is true. His knowledge of the Force is more of the living Force. It's not like that physical Force style where you'll have like Kenobi in the Kenobi series. He's very good at using his environment around him, using move and altering his environment really well with the Force and his lightsaber fighting style simultaneously. But Qui-Gon, again, he's strong in the Force, but it's more of his understanding and openness to the living Force rather than physical combat.
He's not honing that skill to kill people like the Sith would or any assassin.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it would be an interesting idea if Qui-Gon Jinn lived as like a what if scenario where if he was a general in the Clone Wars, how much his skill as a fighter would grow. I would love to see that, but at this point, again, it's called the 1,000 Years of Peace, right? There's not now in Legends he does fight a lot of people as well, but
in canon, but they're not. It's not Sith, it's not
right. Yeah, and Ventress, she puts up a fight against Anakin and Obi-Wan simultaneously, like. People look at her as just a Sith assassin, as a tool, a knife, but she keeps up with people. She duels Grievous one-on-one and does not back down, who's a Jedi killer, you don't always want to look on previous history, but you kind of have to have context. Like this is what she is. She's a Sith assassin. She's a blade for the for Count Dooku.
Now, to be fair to Qui-Gon, we've seen him. He's not your classic Tataru user. He's pretty defensive still, and despite his age, he is quick and powerful. We saw he did well against Maul, but ultimately, when it was just him and Maul, he didn't last as long as you would think. I mean, he's old, but he didn't honestly stand a chance. Some people like to think that the fight was closer than it actually was, but ultimately, she was honed for killing. He wasn't. He's gonna maybe put up a good fight, I'm sure, but she's simply faster, arguably just as strong.
Yeah.
Again, because like her characters like her and Anakin use the Force to enhance their strikes. That's not something a Jedi Master, during the peace times would do. Ultimately, she's faster, more agile, and she's not a Tara user, but she might as well be. She's got that Sith fast style going on. She's deadly. She was trained for this kind of thing. To fight people like Qui-Gon.
I know that the prevailing theory for the Maul fight with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon for a long time, and I'm sure this has been dispelled, was that his lightsaber form and the way he fought. I mean, of course, he was trained in everything, but it helped against multiple opponents, like his double-bladed lightsaber. Whenever he's combating both of them. And it was always hinted at, like never said explicitly, but like him in single combat against somebody was almost a disadvantage. I don't know if that's even like at the time of the Phantom Menace fight. Now later on, different. Of course, he's not fighting with double bladed all the time. But I don't know if that was just me reading into it too much. If that's something that actually does happen with people who wield two blades or double bladed lightsaber.
The thing with the double blade lightsaber is it gives you less mobility, sort of. The only thing is you have to adjust your fighting style, and even then, you then have to wield it more sort of like a spear instead of a sword or a stick like we see. Well, I guess they're both equally be wielded like one, but it's not a disadvantage because even if you are limited somewhat in your movements, you always still have a double attack just swinging like that. So it's not a disadvantage having double blade lightsaber, and if it was, anyone could just simply turn off the other end of the blade
and use that.
And you would be strong, So it's like this. I don't think, maybe if you don't know what you're doing, obviously someone that's not trained with one, it's going to be a disadvantage,
Yeah. And just one final note for the fight with Qui-Gon and Ventress. When he fights Maul on Tatooine, how long is their duel? Just a brief couple minutes, right? And then when he jumps back onto the ship, he's out of breath. He's winded, sweating. I mean, it's Tatooine, so
but he just got done hiking though, or trekking.
So he's old. Like he's not a young warrior anymore. Yeah. And despite that, we would still consider it his prime because just for lack of content.
Maybe Tales of Jedi season 2, Qui-Gon. I'm hoping for him. Maybe we'll see some more of his prowess because with the stuff we have right now, I don't think. Like, we want to pick people that would be close, but, like, the more we delve into it a little, the more I realize it's not that close between Qui-Gon and Ventress.
No.
Like, obviously, she wouldn't annihilate him like other Jedi, but she's simply,
Well, the fight would be interesting. Right. The fight would be interesting because she could go double-bladed or, like, seeing him fight against two blades separately, like, coming from across her body, like, that would be completely different as well. She could use either, and he didn't do very well against a double-bladed, so.
No,
right.
No,
but like we know, he's got good defensive training, probably just from Dooku. Like that would be a priority for him to be. So I think that's what kind of helps him is he is a defensive yet aggressive fighter. He's got the agility, but is a little more defensive. But ultimately, it's not gonna. She's gonna win.
Yeah.
Good try, Qui-Gon.
Good try.
I'm sorry. I hate it because, but it's like we have to remember that a lot of people will try to overcompensate for characters they like, saying they win. But it's like, we have to realize it's not just about who wins and who's like Darth Maul, my favorite villain. He would get crushed by any of the other Sith that we know of. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like he would beat Kylo Ren, but he's not a Sith really. But it's like it's like fighting's not the most important thing. But for this versus series, some people are really like, you're gonna have to.
Yeah, so maybe a controversial start to our versus series, but there it is.
I mean, someone would have to make a huge argument, some earth-shattering canon revelation to change that. I think, personally, but all right, Ventress is the winner of this fight. Please come back for the next ones. We're gonna be doing this for a long time. So like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.